Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring practical productivity tips and insights from Thibaut Maurice's book, Master Your Time, a practical guide to increase your productivity and use your time meaningfully. Now, you might find this interesting. This book is part of Maurice's larger Mastery series.
And the series is already generating quite a bit of buzz. Maries includes a testimonial in Master Your Time for his first book, Master Your Emotions. It's from a psychologist who raves about how approachable and useful the book is. She even recommended it to her clients.
Wow, being endorsed by a mental health professional, that's impressive. So let's dive into what Maurice has to say about productivity itself. His definition is interesting: producing meaningful results with the least effort. It's not just about getting things done, but making sure those things actually matter.
And to help you pinpoint what truly matters, Maurice poses a thought-provoking question. What meaningful things do I need to work on today, this week, or this year to obtain the approval of my future self? Have you ever considered what your future self would be proud of?
It really makes you think about the long-term impact of our daily choices, doesn't it? Maurice then introduces a framework called the energy management cycle, which has 6 steps: capture, channel, allocate, invest, refill, and restart. It seems like he's emphasizing that energy, not time, is our most valuable resource.
Absolutely. It's about strategically managing your energy throughout the day, week, and even year. For instance, think about the allocate step, which focuses on the 80-20 principle. Maurice stresses that we should direct our energy toward the 20% of activities that yield 80% of the results. Can you think of tasks in your day that fit into that crucial 20%?
That's a great point. Identifying those high-impact activities is key. And once you've figured those out, Maurice dives into different levels of productivity to help you tackle them. He outlines 5 levels, but the top 3 seem especially relevant. Level 1 is about cultivating focus. Level 2 is about optimizing your daily schedule. And Level 3 is about clarifying your long-term vision.
It's interesting how he structures these levels. It's like a pyramid, building from a foundation of focus, then optimizing your daily actions, and finally aligning those actions with a larger vision.
It makes sense when you put it that way. Now, here's something I didn't expect in a productivity book. Maurice dedicates a whole section to social connection. He actually shares a personal story about how his productivity plummeted when he moved to Estonia and became quite isolated.
It highlights a crucial point. We're social beings, not machines. Maurice even cites research showing that social interaction directly impacts our cognitive abilities and overall well-being.
So those after-work drinks with colleagues or weekend outings with friends are not just fun, they're actually an investment in our productivity. I like that perspective. But of course, there are times when we struggle to get started on those important tasks. Maurice delves into the reasons we procrastinate, and some of them are surprisingly relatable.
He lists several culprits, including lack of clarity, the motivation myth, fear of failure, and poor focus. But let's unpack 2 that often trip people up: the motivation myth and fear of inadequacy. Have you ever felt like you're waiting for the right motivation to strike before tackling a task?
All the time. But Maurice turns that idea on its head. He suggests that action often creates motivation, not the other way around. I can see how that shift in thinking could be powerful.
It's like that saying, just start and the motivation will follow. Maurice encourages us to view action as a catalyst for motivation, rather than waiting for inspiration to magically appear.
And what about the fear of inadequacy? That feeling that you're not good enough to even start? Maurice is refreshingly honest about his own struggles with this fear.
He offers 2 choices when that feeling arises: let it paralyze you, or strive to do your best despite feeling inadequate. What do you think holds you back from taking action when you know you should?
It's a good question to reflect on. Maurice also introduces a fascinating concept. He suggests that procrastination is essentially asking our future selves to deal with present tasks.
That's such an insightful way to frame it. By procrastinating, we're burdening our future selves with the consequences of our present inaction.
And the reality is, we can only act in the present moment. Postponing is like giving up that opportunity to make progress.
Now let's shift gears and explore how our environment can impact our productivity. Maurice talks about the idea of friction, which can either hinder or help our behavior.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think of it like this. If you want to reduce how often you check your phone, you could intentionally add friction by removing the fingerprint ID. That way you have to type in your passcode every time, making it slightly less convenient.
That's a clever strategy. It's like putting a little obstacle in the way of your bad habit. And on the flip side, removing friction from positive actions can make a big difference, right?
Exactly. Prepping your workout clothes the night before is a classic example of removing friction. To make that morning run more appealing, think about your own life. Where can you strategically add or remove friction to encourage better habits? It's fascinating how subtle changes in our environment can influence our behavior. Murris then introduces a framework that sounds a bit corporate at first, but is actually quite insightful. He calls it the CEO MEO employee model for managing your workday.
Okay, I'm curious to hear how this works. Does it involve wearing a suit to your home office?
Not quite. It's about assigning different roles to manage your tasks and energy. You have the CEO, the COO, and the employee, each with a specific function. The CEO is the big picture thinker, setting the agenda based on your long-term goals, and delegating tasks to the employee.
So the CEO is like the visionary leader, deciding what needs to get done. What about the employee?
The employee's job is simply to execute the tasks assigned by the CEO. No overthinking, no questioning, just focused action. Think of it like this. The CEO decides you need to spend 3 hours writing that day. The employee sits down and writes for 3 hours, no distractions.
That sounds incredibly efficient. Where does the COO fit into all of this?
The COO is like the middle manager, working with both the CEO and the employee to optimize systems and processes. Let's say the COO observes that the employee is struggling to write for those 3 hours because they lack a clear outline or enough ideas. The COO would then suggest to the CEO that, in the future, the employee needs a detailed outline before their writing block.
So the COO is constantly analyzing and refining the process to improve efficiency. I can see how this model could be helpful for people who feel overwhelmed by their to-do lists or struggle with staying focused.
Exactly. It's about separating planning, execution, and optimization, which can reduce mental clutter and increase productivity. Could you see yourself using this model in your own work?
I think it would be especially useful for managing big projects. It's like having a built-in system for staying organized and on track. Now, Maurice also emphasizes the importance of leveraging other people's time and expertise. He uses the example of writers outsourcing tasks like translation, cover design, editing, narration, and proofreading.
It makes sense, especially in creative fields. Writers often need to collaborate with specialists to create a high-quality product. But I think this idea of leveraging other people's time can apply to many areas of life. What are some other examples?
Absolutely. Think about things like cleaning, childcare, or even running errands. Delegating tasks that drain your time and energy can free you up to focus on your strengths and passions.
Maurice also gives a personal example of leveraging his friend's knowledge in cryptocurrency investing. He sends a portion of his crypto to his friend, who manages it alongside his own investments.
It's like getting the benefit of expert advice without having to become an expert yourself. But he does stress the importance of trust and due diligence before handing over your hard-earned money to anyone.
Definitely. Trust and thorough research are crucial. But this example highlights the power of collaboration and leveraging the strengths of your network. It's about working smarter, not just harder.
And speaking of working smarter, Maurice emphasizes the power of knowledge. We live in an age where information is readily available. Think about all the books, courses, and podcasts created by experts in every imaginable field.
It's incredible. But Maurice cautions that knowledge without action is worthless. You can read all the productivity books in the world, but if you don't apply those strategies, they won't make a difference in your life.
So true. It's about finding that balance between learning and doing. Absorb the information and then put it into practice.
He also highlights the importance of your network. The people you surround yourself with can have a huge impact on your success. He encourages us to consider how our network can help us achieve our goals faster.
Do you have friends or colleagues with skills or expertise that could be valuable to your projects? Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help or collaboration. It's not about taking advantage, it's about mutual support and achieving something greater together.
Now let's explore one of the central themes of the book, the mastery mindset. Maurice explains this isn't a new concept, but he believes too few people understand its power.
I'm all ears. What exactly is the mastery mindset and how can we cultivate it?
The mastery mindset is about approaching any field, whether it's writing, art, business, or even parenting, with the intention of becoming truly skilled, of mastering the craft. Maurice outlines 7 pillars for developing this mindset: mastering repetition, mastering the fundamentals, having faith in the process, being willing to learn, embracing long-term thinking, being consistent, and focusing.
That's quite a list. Let's break those down. What does he mean by mastering repetition?
Maurice points out that every successful person is a master of repetition. Think about Olympic athletes, musicians, or anyone who has achieved a high level of skill in their field. They've spent countless hours practicing, refining their technique, and honing their craft.
He gives the example of Michael Phelps, who didn't miss a single day of training between the ages of 12 and 18. That level of dedication is astounding.
It's about embracing the process of repetition, even when it feels tedious. We learn and improve through consistent effort over time. Think about learning to drive. At first, it feels overwhelming, but with practice, it becomes second nature. Maurice argues that this principle applies to any skill we want to develop.
And what about mastering the fundamentals? I can see how that's crucial for athletes or musicians, but how does it apply to other fields?
Maurice argues that having a strong foundation is essential for success in any field. He uses the example of Tiger Woods again, who, despite being a world champion golfer, decided to rework his golf swing with a coach. It's a powerful reminder that even experts benefit from revisiting the basics. What fundamentals could you revisit in your field to enhance your skills?
That's a great question to consider. Now, having faith in the process seems crucial too. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see results immediately.
Absolutely. Maurice encourages us to trust the process and avoid constantly switching methods or searching for quick fixes. He suggests picking a course, a book, a method, and sticking with it until you see results. This also ties into the pillar of being consistent.
Consistency seems to be a recurring theme in Maurice's approach to productivity. He argues that consistent effort allows us to build momentum, boost our focus, and ultimately achieve greater results.
He recommends choosing one small action and doing it consistently every day, no matter how insignificant it seems. You could be writing for 15 minutes, meditating for 5 minutes, or even just making your bed. It's about building that habit of showing up and doing the work day after day.
I can see how that consistency can build a sense of self-discipline and create a positive feedback loop. Now, let's talk about focusing, which seems like a crucial element of the mastery mindset.
Marisa believes our ability to focus is one of our greatest assets. He makes a bold statement. Laser-sharp focus sustained over a long period of time can turn an average person into a genius. It's about directing our attention toward the things that will make a difference in our lives and minimizing distractions that pull us away from our goals.
He also stresses that multitasking is a myth, and we can only truly focus on one thing at a time. I wonder, do you think there's ever a time when multitasking can be effective, or is it always detrimental to our focus?
That's a great question. While Maurice doesn't explicitly address different types of multitasking, it's worth considering if there are situations where switching between simple tasks, like folding laundry while listening to a podcast, could be more efficient than doing each separately. However, for cognitively demanding tasks, like writing or problem solving, focusing on one task at a time is likely to yield better results.
That makes sense. It's about being mindful of the type of task and how it demands our attention. Maurice also connects focus to the 80-20 principle, reminding us to identify and prioritize the 20% of activities that yield 80% of our results.
It's about working smarter, not just harder. By directing our focus toward those high-impact tasks, we can achieve significant progress.
And he also mentions flow state as a key element of focus and productivity. Have you ever experienced that feeling of being so absorbed in an activity that time seems to disappear?
Absolutely. It's a state of deep focus and immersion, where we often produce our best work. Maurice reminds us of the 6 characteristics of flow, as defined by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Intense focus on the present moment, merging of action and awareness, loss of self-consciousness, feeling in control, altered time perception, and intrinsic reward. It's interesting how he links flow to the concept of video games.
I'm curious about that connection. Can you elaborate?
Think about how engaging video games are. They often create challenges that are just difficult enough to keep you hooked, but not so difficult that you get frustrated and quit. It's about finding that sweet spot between boredom and anxiety, where you're fully engaged but not overwhelmed. Maurice suggests that we can apply this principle to our work and find tasks that challenge us just enough to enter that flow state.
It's a fascinating analogy. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the distraction in the room technology. Maurice acknowledges that technology is a double-edged sword. It can enhance our productivity, but also be a major source of distraction.
He recommends using technology mindfully, setting clear boundaries, and being aware of its potential to hijack our attention. He suggests simple things like turning off notifications, creating tech-free zones, and scheduling specific times for checking email and social media.
He also reminds us to use technology as a tool to support our goals, rather than letting it control our time and attention. Think about all the apps and tools designed to block distracting websites, schedule focused work sessions, and track our progress.
It's about being intentional with our technology use and choosing tools that empower us rather than those that lead us down endless rabbit holes of distraction.
Now, let's shift gears and talk about a concept that's often overlooked in productivity discussions: self-care.
Maurice stresses the importance of prioritizing our physical and mental well-being. He recommends getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and engaging in activities that bring us joy and relaxation. It's about recognizing that our productivity is directly linked to our overall well-being.
He also encourages us to practice self-compassion, being kind to ourselves when we make mistakes or fall short of our goals. It's easy to get caught up in self-criticism, especially when we're striving for productivity. But Maurice reminds us that self-criticism is counterproductive. It drains our energy and undermines our efforts.
Instead, he suggests we practice talking to ourselves the way we would talk to a friend who is struggling. Offer ourselves words of encouragement and understanding. He even recommends a 7-day self-compassion challenge where you consciously monitor your internal dialogue and make an effort to be kind and supportive to yourself.
That's such a powerful exercise. It's about creating a supportive inner environment where we can thrive.
Absolutely. And self-compassion isn't about being lazy or letting ourselves off the hook. It's about recognizing that we're all human and we all make mistakes. It's about creating a space for learning and growth.
Now, one of the most impactful takeaways from Maris's book is the idea that our brains are wired for negativity. He explains that this is a survival mechanism that helped our ancestors stay safe from threats in their environment.
It's fascinating how our evolutionary history still influences our thoughts and behaviors today.
He points out that even though we logically know that a single criticism or setback doesn't define us, our brains can react as if it's a life-or-death situation.
But in today's world, that negativity bias can hold us back. It can lead to dwelling on negative thoughts, overestimating risks, and underestimating our abilities. Rees challenges us to reprogram our minds and train ourselves to focus on the positive. It's about practicing gratitude, celebrating our successes, and viewing challenges as opportunities for growth.
He suggests surrounding ourselves with positive influences and consciously shifting our attention away from negativity towards the things that uplift and empower us.
It's a powerful reminder that we have more control over our thoughts and emotions than we realize. We can choose to focus on the positive and create a more optimistic and resilient mindset.
Now let's circle back to the CEO-employee model and see how it can be applied to creating a distraction-free environment. Remember, the CEO sets the agenda, the COO optimizes the system, and the employee executes the tasks.
By clearly defining these roles and sticking to them, we minimize distractions and maximize focus. Let's imagine a hypothetical scenario. The CEO decides that the employee's focus for the next hour is to write a blog post. The COO has ensured the employee has a clear outline and all the necessary resources. The employee's sole job is to write, no checking email, browsing social media, or getting sidetracked by other tasks.
It's like creating a mental sanctuary where distractions are forbidden. I can see how this model could be especially helpful for people who struggle with staying on task.
Absolutely. It's about creating a structure that supports your focus and minimizes opportunities for distraction.
Now, building on the CEO-employee model, let's talk about the importance of creating a daily routine that supports your productivity goals.
Maurice argues that a well-designed routine can significantly enhance our focus and efficiency. He recommends setting aside a specific time each day for focused work and sticking to that schedule as much as possible. He even mentions Cal Newport's concept of fixed schedule productivity from his book Deep Work.
I've heard of that. It's about creating a sense of scarcity around your time, which forces you to be more intentional with how you use it.
Exactly. It's about treating your focused work time as a valuable and non-negotiable appointment. Maurice also stresses the importance of setting a hard stop time for your workday to prevent burnout and allow for proper rest and rejuvenation.
I think having clear boundaries between work and personal time is crucial for maintaining long-term productivity and well-being.
Absolutely. It's about respecting your own energy and recognizing that you're not a machine
Yeah.
that can work endlessly without consequences.
Miras also suggests incorporating a pre-work ritual to prepare your mind and body for focused work.
He suggests activities like meditation, exercise, stretching, writing down your goals, expressing gratitude, and visualizing your success. These rituals are all about setting a positive and intentional tone for your day.
And he stresses the importance of eliminating distractions during this pre-work ritual. Put away your phone, turn off the TV, and create a space where you can connect with yourself and set your intentions.
It's about consciously transitioning from relaxation mode to work mode and priming your mind for focus and productivity.
Now, once you've completed your pre-work ritual, it's time to dive into that focused work session. Maurice recommends committing to at least 45 minutes of uninterrupted work, using a timer to help stay on track and resist distractions.
He also suggests using techniques like temptation bundling, pairing something you enjoy with a task you need to do. For example, you could listen to your favorite podcast while working on a challenging project.
That's a great strategy. It's like tricking your brain into associating work with pleasure.
He also recommends mental contrasting, visualizing the positive outcomes of completing your task, and contrasting them with the negative consequences of procrastination. It's about reminding yourself why you're doing the work and what you stand to gain by staying focused.
And once you've completed that focused work session, it's important to take a break and recharge. Maurice recommends 5-10-minute breaks for every 45-60 minutes of work.
During your break, get up and move around, stretch, get some fresh air, or do something enjoyable to clear your head. It's about giving your brain a chance to rest and reset so you can return to your work feeling refreshed and focused.
Now let's address a common obstacle to productivity: procrastination. Maurice dives into the reasons behind procrastination and offers practical strategies for overcoming it.
He reminds us that procrastination is often rooted in fear, whether it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of the unknown.
He encourages us to identify those fears and challenge them, reminding us that action often creates confidence, not the other way around. It's about taking that first step, even if it's small, and building momentum from there.
He also suggests breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks. This makes the task feel less daunting and increases our motivation to get started.
It's like that saying, one step at a time.
He also recommends creating a done list to track our progress and celebrate our accomplishments. This can help us stay motivated and appreciate how far we've come.
It's about shifting our focus from what we haven't done yet to what we've already achieved, which can be incredibly motivating. Now, let's revisit the topic of technology and its impact on our focus and productivity.
Maurice acknowledges that technology can be a double-edged sword. It can be a powerful tool for productivity, but it can also be a major distraction. He recommends using technology mindfully, setting clear boundaries, and being aware of its potential to hijack our attention.
He suggests turning off notifications, creating tech-free zones, and scheduling specific times for checking email and social media. It's about being intentional with our technology use and choosing tools that empower us, rather than those that lead us down endless rabbit holes of distraction.
He also encourages us to use technology to support our productivity goals. Think about all the apps and tools designed to block distracting websites, schedule focused work sessions, and track our progress.
It's about harnessing the power of technology to enhance our focus and productivity, rather than letting it control us. Now, let's talk about a crucial aspect of maintaining our focus and energy levels: self-care.
Maurice emphasizes the importance of prioritizing our physical and mental well-being. He recommends getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and engaging in activities that bring us joy and relaxation.
He reminds us that we're not machines and we need to take care of ourselves to perform at our best. Burnout is a real threat, and neglecting self-care can lead to decreased productivity, creativity, and overall well-being.
He also encourages practicing self-compassion and being kind to ourselves when we make mistakes or fall short of our goals. We're all human, and we all have limitations. It's about creating a supportive inner environment where we can thrive despite our imperfections.
I love that message. It's a reminder that being kind to ourselves is not a weakness, it's actually a strength. It allows us to be more resilient, more forgiving of ourselves, and ultimately more productive in the long run.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Thibaut Maurice's Master Your Time, I want to highlight some key points he emphasizes for increasing our productivity and using our time more meaningfully.
I'm ready for a recap.
First, define what productivity means to you. It's not just about getting things done. It's about achieving meaningful results that align with your values and goals. Second, manage your energy effectively. Identify your peak performance times and schedule your most important tasks for those periods.
That's a great reminder. It's about working with our natural energy rhythms, not against them.
Third, eliminate distractions. Create a distraction-free environment. Set clear boundaries with colleagues and family members. And turn off notifications. It's about minimizing interruptions that derail our focus and drain our energy.
It's about creating a space, both physical and mental, that supports our productivity.
Fourth, develop a mastery mindset. Approach your work with the intention of becoming truly skilled. Embrace repetition and practice, and focus on mastering the fundamentals. It's about approaching your work with a growth mindset, recognizing that consistent effort leads to improvement over time.
It's about viewing challenges as opportunities for growth
Yeah.
and constantly seeking ways to enhance our skills and knowledge.
Fifth, leverage other people's time, money, and knowledge. Don't be afraid to ask for help, delegate tasks, and seek expert advice. It's about recognizing that we don't have to do everything ourselves. Collaborating with others can save us time, energy, and resources.
It's about working smarter, not harder, and it's about acknowledging that we all have different strengths and weaknesses.
Sixth, create a daily routine that supports your productivity goals. Set aside time for focused work, incorporate a pre-work ritual, and prioritize self-care. It's about designing a structure for your day that supports your energy, focus, and well-being.
It's about creating a rhythm for your day that maximizes your productivity without leading to burnout.
And finally, be mindful of technology. Use it to support your productivity, not control you. Turn off notifications, set boundaries, and be intentional about your technology use. It's about being the master of your technology, not the servant.
These are such valuable reminders. I'm already thinking about how I can implement these strategies in my own life. It sounds like Mary's covers a wide range of practical advice for increasing our productivity. I'm curious, does he share any personal stories in the book that illustrate these concepts?
Yes, he does. In fact, he shares a compelling anecdote about the challenges he faced while writing his first book, Master Your Emotions. He talks about how he was initially excited about the project, brimming with ideas.
I can relate to that feeling. It's like a burst of inspiration that makes you eager to dive into a project.
Exactly. But as he began writing, the excitement faded, and he started doubting himself and the value of his ideas. He even questioned if he was qualified to write a book on such a personal topic as emotions.
It's fascinating how those self-doubts can creep in and derail our focus. I think we've all experienced that feeling at some point, haven't we? It's like imposter syndrome kicks in, making us question our abilities and worthiness.
He even contemplated giving up on the project altogether. But then he had a realization that completely shifted his perspective. He recognized that writing the book was a perfect opportunity to work through his own emotional challenges and turn them into valuable insights for his readers.
That's a powerful reframing. Instead of seeing those doubts and negative emotions as roadblocks, he viewed them as part of the process, something to learn and grow from.
He decided to embrace the discomfort and keep writing. Recognizing that everyone experiences emotional ups and downs, he used his personal struggles to fuel the book, transforming his challenges into relatable lessons for his audience.
That's such a valuable reminder that we can choose to see challenges as opportunities for growth. It's about reframing our perspective and using those experiences to fuel our creativity and resilience. I think that ties in beautifully with his emphasis on self-compassion, which he discusses throughout the book.
Absolutely. Maurice argues that being kind to ourselves, especially when we make mistakes or face setbacks, is crucial for maintaining our focus and motivation. It's so easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism, especially when striving for productivity. We set high standards for ourselves, and when we don't meet them, we can be incredibly harsh on ourselves.
It's like our inner critic takes over, and we start berating ourselves for every perceived flaw or misstep.
But Maurice reminds us that self-criticism is counterproductive. It drains our energy, lowers our self-esteem, and ultimately sabotages our efforts. Instead of beating ourselves up, he encourages us to practice self-compassion. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who is struggling. Offer yourself words of encouragement and understanding.
That's such a valuable reminder. We often treat ourselves with far less kindness than we would extend to others.
He even suggests a 7-day self-compassion challenge. During this challenge, you consciously monitor your internal self-talk and make a conscious effort to be kind and supportive to yourself. This is a powerful exercise for cultivating a more positive and resilient mindset, which in turn fuels our productivity and creativity.
It's amazing how much our inner dialogue can impact our overall well-being and ability to achieve our goals. Now, one final nugget of wisdom from Maurice that really resonated with me is the idea that our brains are wired for negativity. He explains that this is a survival mechanism from our evolutionary past, helping our ancestors stay safe from threats.
It's a fascinating insight into how our evolutionary history still influences our thoughts and behaviors today.
He points out that even though we logically know that a single criticism or setback doesn't define us, our brains can overreact as if it's a life or death situation.
It's like our emotional responses haven't quite caught up with our modern world. We're no longer facing saber-toothed tigers, but our brains still react to perceived threats with a surge of negativity.
Exactly. And Mirrors argues that in today's world, this negativity bias can be more of a hindrance than a help. It can lead us to dwell on negative thoughts, overestimate risks, and underestimate our abilities.
So he challenges us to reprogram our minds. He suggests consciously training ourselves to focus on the positive, celebrate our successes, and view challenges as opportunities for growth. It's about shifting our attention away from what's wrong and towards what's right, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
He recommends practices like gratitude, focusing on our strengths, and surrounding ourselves with positive influences. These are all powerful strategies for counteracting that negativity bias and cultivating a more optimistic and resilient outlook.
It's about recognizing that we have more control over our thoughts and emotions than we often realize. We can choose to focus on the positive and create a more supportive and empowering inner environment.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Thibaut Maurice's Master Your Time, I'm struck by how much he emphasizes the importance of understanding ourselves, our energy, our distractions, and our goals. It's not about finding the perfect productivity system, it's about creating a personalized approach that works for you.
And he offers a wealth of practical strategies for achieving this, from managing our energy effectively to cultivating a mastery mindset, leveraging our network, creating supportive routines, and practicing self-compassion.
He reminds us that mastering our time is not about becoming a productivity machine, but about making conscious choices that align with our values and create a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I'd like to leave you with a question. What resonated most with you from our discussion? What strategies are you excited to implement in your own life?
We encourage you to reflect on what you've learned and take action to create positive change in your own life. And remember, mastering your time is an ongoing journey, not a destination. It's about continually learning, adapting, and striving to use your time in a way that brings you joy, purpose, and fulfillment.
Until next time, stay focused, stay curious, and keep striving for mastery.